Theology to many people sounds too lofty or maybe unapproachable and sometimes even intimidating. And to some, it's just downright scary. And to others, it just sounds boring and somewhat irrelevant. But is that true? Let's talk about it. So the word theology comes from two Greek words. The first one is theos, which simply means God. Logos means word. In fact, St. Augustine, back in the 4th and 5th century AD, said that theology is just rational discussion concerning God. What a great definition. In fact, theology is so foundational that back in the 13th century, Thomas Aquinas called it the queen of the sciences. Now, consider the queen. Not that queen. The chess piece. If you play the game of chess, you know that the most powerful piece on the board isn't the king, and it's not the knight, and it's not the bishop, it is the queen. Well, look, in much the same way, theology is the most powerful piece on the board of life. And let me tell you why. Quite simply, it's the foundation for, well, everything. Consider the following theological questions. Does God exist? And if he does, what's he like? What's the purpose of creation? What is good and evil, right and wrong? Do those things even exist? What is mankind? And is there anything innate in man that makes him special, that makes him other than any other part of creation? What's the meaning of life? What happens when we die? You see, every single one of those questions ultimately finds its answer in, you guessed it, in theology. So who do you know that asks those questions? Well, the answer is everybody does. Every one of us answer these questions every day. This is something we build our lives on. See, these play out in our philosophy, in our ethics, in our anthropology, in our economics, in our law, in our politics, in our sociology, in our psychology. Every field of life ultimately depends on the queen, which is theology. Don't believe me? Watch this. Let's take a look at a couple of examples to see how this plays out. Let's take philosophy. Philosophy seeks to answer a bunch of great questions, but one of the primary ones is, what is really real? What actually exists? Well, we can't even answer that unless we go back to theology. So if we say that there is no God, God doesn't exist, well then when we look at reality, the only thing that exists is most likely the material. What that means is no God, no angels, no demons, no spirits, no miracles, no souls, no spirits. I mean, you could go on and on here. And that affects the way you live. That affects the way you do things. For example, to tie this to psychology, psychology by definition is, or at least by the word, psycheology, the study of the psyche, which means soul. Well, if I'm an atheist and I'm doing psychology, which is study of the soul, but what is really real? Well, souls aren't real. Well, then my psychology will look a good bit different than, say, someone who does believe in God. Because with God under theism, not only does the material actually exist, but also the immaterial. So see, just from your theology, that directly dictates your answers to the questions of philosophy and the questions of psychology. So now let's take a look at something like ethics. Ethics deals with the realm of should, how things should be. I should care for the poor. I should not go out and harm people. But we can't even answer the ethical question until we go back to the queen, which is theology. Because look, if there is no God, what is ultimately right or wrong? If the only thing that exists is the material, and there's no primary purpose for the universe, can there be right or good? I don't see how there could be. Now, there could be preference. I might not want you to rob me. I might not want you to hurt me. Or my nation might not want you to do this. But that doesn't mean they shouldn't do it. Do you see the problem? Now let's contrast that with theism. If God does exist, then that changes the whole game. Because now, because you have God, you have a lawgiver. And if you have a lawgiver, you have a law. And if you have a law, you can have good. And if you can have good, you can have evil. But if you take away that God, back in the first example, no God, no lawgiver, no lawgiver, no law, no good, no evil. You live in a world where the only thing that's right, wrong, good, and evil is your preference. And that, my friends, leads to chaos. So what are we saying here? Let's get really practical. Look, theology is the root of everything we do, and the way we live is manifested by that first theological question. The things we do, the things we don't do. The movies we watch, the movies we don't watch, the songs we listen to, the songs we don't listen to, the way we date, the way we marry, the way we raise children, whether or not we sleep in on Sundays or wake up early and go to church, whether or not we give to the poor. I mean, everything is all wound up in this beautiful topic called theology. So see, theology is not unapproachable or too lofty or scary or even worse, boring or irrelevant. On the contrary, it is the foundation for the abundant life, and that excites me, and I hope it excites you too. Now, a word of warning. In this next video, we're going to start digging deep, and let me tell you something. I'm going to tell you a story that completely messed up my world. So be sure and click on that one. Oh, and just a little side note, guys, listen, this is a brand new channel. I'm so excited, but if you're excited too, be sure and click the like button and or subscribe. Leave a comment. We're going to have a lot of fun here, but all of that stuff just kind of helps the video to get going. So thank you for watching, and may our Lord bless you.